Do you ever feel lost when you couldn't romance Pascal? Sick of Rogue Trader skill trees where 1/10 of the perks feel like cruel jokes? Ever dream of ending a battle just by shouting someone into submission? Or better yet, branding every annoying NPC a heretic and purging them in the Emperor's name? Then come and see, you must come and see. Owlcat's new game, Dark Heresy, might just make all those dreams come true. Hi everyone, I'm Intended Recusant, and in today's video, we're diving into what Dark Heresy is really bringing to the table after Gamescom. New systems, darker tones, and the biggest shift in Owlcat's storytelling since Rogue Trader. The first half of the video will summarize everything we've learned so far from various media previews and interviews, while the second half will dive into gameplay footage and screenshots from Gamescom in Cologne. So no more stalling, let's get right into it. We'll start by breaking down what the majority outlets have reported. Most of these impressions come from interviews with Owlcat executive producer Natalie Shestov. The sources I'll be referencing here, including post-Gamescom reviews from Polygon and the German gaming site MyMMO, as well as earlier coverage from Gamer and PC Gamer. Yes, the same one that gave Rogue Trader a 59 out of 100. Those two previews were both published back in May, right after Dark Heresy was first announced. The biggest takeaway is that the game's storytelling direction is going to change dramatically. First off, Owlcat's moving away from the power fantasy hero narrative of Rogue Trader and leaning into a much darker tone. Now, I'll be honest, I'm skeptical. Owlcat is great at writing characters who are messed up, morale twisted, and tragic. But logical consistency, rational decision making, not exactly their strongest suits. Rogue Trader had more than a few moments of split-brain writing, where a character's life and right hemisphere seem to be arguing mid-dialogue. This time, the story seems to take place entirely on Scintilla, the capital of the Galaxy sector, with no warp travel or space exploration at all. That's also why our ship, or rather our shadow, is going to be much smaller than the Rogue Trader's small frigate. Based on pre-order info, it's almost certain a gang cutter. That said, Owlcat is doing something pretty interesting with planetary flavor. You see things like turbulent mushrooms and fishermen cutting away at their catch, an enormous fish with 2 mouthfuls of sharp teeth unique to Scintilla's ecosystem. Faction-wise, the story will be now resolved around the Inquisition's radical Puritan divide, replacing the old three-way faction system from Rogue Trader, which frankly I hated. Whether Owlcat will actually go deeper with sub-factions, I'm not sure. It's Owlcat after all, but personally, I'm really hoping for a good old-fashioned radical-on-radical civil war. Oh, and yes, you can romance the tech priest companion this time. Finally, a redemption arc for everyone who was heartbroken over not being able to date Pascal. My guess, they're probably a factor of the last or an agent of the Lord Dragon. As for the Xenos companions, in addition to the Elder Corsair and the Cruise Shaper, who already take up about 2/5 of the covered art, Owlcat hinted there will be more. Look, I don't really trust Owlcat when it comes to promising big things. Remember Rogue Trader? They straight up said we'll be getting more Xenos companions. And what did we end up with? 2 Elders. That's it. No orcs, no Tau, not even a single Kroot. It was the most Xeno-deprived corner of the entire Chronos expanse. Like some inquisitor ran galaxy-wide Xenocide on fun. I'm not holding my breath, but hey, a guy can dream. Give me a sloth companion, please. The appearance of the Night Lords as antagonists is also a big deal, especially for fans of the bad tin cans. Yeah, you know who you are. They won't be companions of course, but still, Owlcat confirmed that Aaron Dempsey Bowden, author of the Night Lords Omnibus and now GW's lead narrative designer, is consulting on the project. Apparently, the game will even include real Nostromo language and aim to portray the Night Lords as more than just Saturday morning villains. And finally, there will be hidden endings this time, more subtle and complex than before. Owlcat said that when they made Rogue Trader, they had to play it safe to appeal to general audiences, but with Dark Heresy, they've been given the freedom to make something deeper, denser, and much more tailored to hardcore Warhammer fans. So yeah, fingers crossed. If you want to learn more about Scintilla, Gang Cutters, the Inquisition's factions, or the mystery of the Terran Star, check out my previous video. I've already covered all that lore in detail. On the gameplay side, Owlcat said they really want to address some of the core problems from Rogue Trader, like how the leveling system felt bloated with too many options, some of which didn't even make sense for your chosen class. They also admitted that combat became trivial at the latest by Lag 2, as many mechanics were no longer really relevant. This is a direct quote from Owlcat themselves. First up, the morale system. In Rogue Trader, morale was basically reduced to momentum, a flashy resource for ultimate abilities. In Dark Heresy, though, it's getting a foot overall. Low morale can now cause debuffs, while high morale gives a massive static buff and a powerful free ability they can use, or even the choice to make enemy flee, or if you prefer to slaughter them all. Personally, I'm kind of indifferent about this. Some players with a strong morale compass might love the idea, but I just worry it means less loot. Even if the system led to older surrounding enemies to strip naked like in Kingdom Come Deliverance, I'd rather kill them and take everything they've got. That said, different factions will have different surrender conditions. If Owlcat handles that well, it could actually be a brilliant way to merge story and gameplay. As an example, one encounter reportedly lets you kill a gun boss, which terrifies his men so badly they start fighting each other like panicked orcs. On the flip side, if an enemy downs one of your team members, their morale recovers. There are also some clever touches in individual encounters. According to Polygon's review, in one mission, the player fights a gun that had captured local divers. The gun offers a bottle of poisoned amasec as a gift, which both opens the door and boosts their morale. Later, the player faces a hostage situation that apparently features a timer mechanic, similar to the final battle on the Heartless or Rogue Trader's DLC 2. The reviewer said they took too long and one hostage got executed. And just when they thought things couldn't get worse, the enemies shut the door, isolating the Psyker from the rest of the team, and proceeded to beat them down. The cover system has also been reworked. Now, objects can either provide full cover while they still have hit points, or won't provide any cover, but will block line of sight. Armor is also getting a durability system this time around, meaning you can actually break enemy armor mid-fight. On top of that, the damage dealing system now borrows from the original tabletop rules. Critical hits don't just deal extra damage, they trigger special effects depending on which body part you hit. Characters with precise attacks can target specific limbs to disable enemies. For example, crippling their legs to stop movement, or hitting their arms to make them drop their weapons. Next up, the career system. Personally, I really hope this time each race and archetype gets a unique skill tree, because honestly, the idea of Crude, Eldar, and Humies shared in the same attribute path feel a little bit too abstract for me. Owlcat admitted that in Rogue Trader, only about 10% of the skills are actually relevant. The majority were unimportant. So in Dark Heresy, they're simplifying the skill trees and letting you specialization paths define your playstyle. Take the Soldier archetype as an example. The base class only provides core shooting abilities, but from there, you can specialize into paths like single target expert, AoE specialist, or anti-armor specialist. Each specialization grants its own active skills, passive effects, and stat bonus. For instance, Dr. Epionis Bay, as a soldier, can pick the run gun path, allowing for double shots with reduced damage per hit, or chose Shockwave, which means your area attacks covers double the area and everyone in the area must make a saving throw or become staggered. This system gives players clean, meaningful choices so you can build exactly the kinds of combat style you want without wasting any points on filtering skills. The build customization system has also been reworked. Executive producer Anatoly Shestov compared it to Diablo 3's Gem and Stones. Whenever specialization is chosen, you basically get a gem that can be inserted into an ability to change it. For example, every ally hits receive a +2 morale. Just as an example, this effect can then be applied to a buff that already increased the morale of all companions. Ability description will also be more concise and split across branches, avoiding the wall of text problem from Rogue Trader, a real blessing for anyone who struggles to read those long paragraphs. As for psyker classes, including pyromancy, the team said there will likely be around 5 specialization paths, though the number isn't final. Honestly, as long as it beats the original tabletop's variety, I'll call that win. Finally, let's talk about the minigame system, Owlcat's beloved tradition that players both love and love to hate. This time, the minigame takes the form of an investigation system, and thankfully, it doesn't look quite as physically painful as before. According to Owlcat, it's inspired by Obsidian's Pentiment, meaning it focused less on deduction itself and more on choice-driven outcomes. You won't be taking intelligent attack as a player, your decision will determine the result. Honestly, that's a good thing for Owlcat. If you have played Rogue Trader, you'll probably notice how awkward their reasoning and dialogue branching could be. Some options look identical but lead to complete different results. So putting the emphasis on meaningful choices instead of deep detective logic is, frankly, right in their skill zones. Anatoly Shestov even said he dislikes detective games where, quote, "I will just click all the things, I don't see the logic behind this." So in his words, this system is meant to showcase the Inquisition's unlimited authority. You don't need to find out who the real culprit is, you just need to convict anyone you don't like. That said, this doesn't mean the investigation system is shallow or lazy. Based on Owlcat's demo, every piece of evidence you find is archived into an investigation log, where you can review your own interpretation and gain additional insights from your companion's perspectives. Like your original TTRPG, our Parties of Awareness skills helps uncover extra details, but ultimately, how you interpret that information is up to you. If you already know some Warhammer lore, you can use that meta-knowledge to make smarter deductions, but it's not required. At the end of each case, you'll be asked 3 questions like, who ransacked the map, and why are there workboots tracked here? Based on the clues you've collected, you choose from a list of possible answers. Some options won't appear if you miss the key evidence. Each answer is accompanied by a silhouette-style animation, as if you are weaving your own version of events. It's really evocative touch, almost like something out of a classic mystery adventure game. And as mentioned earlier, you can still make judgments based on your personal bias rather than facts, much like one of the scenes in Rogue Trader's DLC 2, Lex Imperialis. The game won't stop you or warn you if your answers are wrong, but your choices still have consequences. That could mean a separate line of a snark from an NPC, or a ripple effect you will notice until much later. According to Polygon's preview, the reviewer even managed to impress an inquisitor enough that she offered to assign one of her agents to join their team, and that person might be very well as Dr. Spang. Though, realistically, I suspect the recruitment check won't be too hard, maybe it just changes when he joins rather than if. That wraps up the review analyzation section. Now let's take a look at the short demo Owlcat shows at Gamescom. It's only a brief clip, but according to the devs, it comes from roughly 15 hours into the main story. The first cinematic shows a scene set in an abandoned adaptive mechanics facility, and the design here clearly takes heavy inspiration from Dark Tide. If you played it, you'll probably recognize the vibe. It looks almost identically to the servitor colony areas from the Access Vault mission. Inside this area, we see several Skitarii vanguards, multiple servitors, and even a Sicarian rat stalker, straight out of Rogue Trader. This malfunctioning tech priest muttering about connection to energo blocks. But right now, they seem far more interested in dealing with the intruders, aka the player characters. Nearby, an interactable console describes how the connection restoration process halted due to missing energo blocks, implying that the player can restart the mechanism mid-combat, similar to certain Rogue Trader encounters where reactivating machinery could make fights easier. Once combat starts, the tech priest active above called the Flesh is Weak has armor, which directly references their signature ability from the original Heresy tabletop rules. The Vanguard units also carry a commander buff, suggesting he is the squad leader. We can also see that, at this point in the demo, the player's party only consists of the main character, the Catachan IG, and the Ogryn. The Ogryn's dialogue is, well, exactly what you expect. Low IQ, marshmallow lines that sound straight out of Dark Knight. During combat, a new feature pops up that wasn't in Rogue Trader. A warning saying, "Looks like we are losing," and the losing battle debuff appears. This seems to be part of the new morale system, a bit like the advantage mechanic in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition. When morale is high, you can even intimidate enemies into fleeing, but here's the obvious that with only 3 party members, the group starts at a morale disadvantage. Next, the Catachan moves up to a Rastalker and uses a precise attack. And this is where things get interesting. Precise attacks are completely reworked. Instead of being just a flat modifier, you can now target specific body parts. Think of Fallow's bat system, but this is actually based on the original Dark Heresy tabletop mechanics. On the right side of the UI, you can see the enemy stats, line of sight, wounds, armor durability, morale, and any buffs or debuffs. Health and armor both seem to operate on a 0 to 100 scale. When selecting body parts, the UI shows the chance of inflicting different wound severities and any special effect tied to that area. For example, hitting the arm can disrupt concentration, hitting the leg affects initiative, hitting the torso is just as a normal standard attack. Different weapon type probably change these effects too. The demo player then attacks the enemy's leg, triggering a buff called Catachan Battle Tactics, and applying a kind of armor-breaking effect to the target, and that's where the demo cuts off. The next part of the demo takes place in a crude enclave in Scintilla, where the party, still just the same 3 characters from the previous segment, conducts an investigation and negotiation. When approaching a crude NPC, a short cutscene triggers. The character appears to be looking for one of his missing kin. The dialogue here is extremely minimal, barely any options, and the demonstrator even fails a Lord Xenos check. The only interesting detail is that once you learn something about the NPC, their personal information seems to be added to a clues folder. That's most likely part of the new investigation minigame before. And if there really is a dedicated information log this time, it will definitely be a lot cleaner and more organized than Rogue Trader's messy journal system. After that, the player wanders around the crude camp, checking out the crew tux, which looks pretty great. Standing nearby it might be Ante, the female crew shaper, possibly the game's main heroine, though it might be just a generic NPC shaper, because later screenshots actually show the party fighting against the crew shaper. Then comes the familiar Rogue Trader style looted map sequence. The player makes a resistance check to retrieve a container out of swamp, finding a Terran crew rifle and some miscellaneous supplies. The gun doesn't have its own icon yet. It reuses the splinter rifle icon from Rogue Trader, so stats are probably a placeholder for now. Still, it's nice to see the weapon retains the tabletop trait of having a melee attack mode, just like in the original rules. Weirdly enough, they also found an Astra Militarum power mode for the Ogryn, which makes 0 sense in Crew Swamp, but hey, early build logic. The player then examines a pot of foul-smelling crew stew, and the nearby NPC explains it's water of memory, a ritual brew for the weakened one. If the player touches, they'll anger the locals. I couldn't help but think this might be a typo. It says the roots, but maybe it was meant to say for the crews, since that could be a lot more sense in context. That's where the demo footage ends, followed by a few screenshots. They don't reveal much, but the Ogryn's character sheet screenshot is the most interesting. You can actually see that his base intelligence stat is higher than Warfar from Rogue Trader, which is kind of hilarious. Some might ask if the stats are even comparable across games, but yes, both CRPGs use roughly the same tabletop inspire scaling, so the numbers should line up. In the lower left, you can see that characters once again have 2 archetypes to choose from. Just like in Rogue Trader, most other stats look the same as before, using the same system and interfaces. The top border of the UI shows the investigation journal we saw earlier, which, if implemented properly, could finally make the game's information management much smoother. Other screenshots show the Elder Corsair seemingly joining the party before the recruit, and the investigation mechanic similar to the brain-dance system in Cyberpunk 2077. Overall, it gives a decent sense of the game's tone and scope so far. Anyway, from everything I've seen so far, from the previews to the lore itself, I can't help but see echoes of an old Obsidian CRPG I played years ago, Tyranny. Both the investigation system and the Inquisition's limitless authority instantly remind me of the Fatebinder in Tyranny. I genuinely hope Dark Heresy can learn from, or even surpass, some of the game's brilliant design ideas. For example, in Tyranny, you could ignore normal dialogue choices entirely and simply declare everyone inside the old walls guilty of heresy, then execute them on the spot. That, to me, perfectly embodies the mindset of the Puritan inquisitorial agent. I would love to see something like that in Dark Heresy game. The ability, as a monodominant or Amalathian acolyte, to walk right into Scintilla's crude enclave and deliver judgment in the Emperor's name. That said, I still have mixed feelings about Owlcat as a studio. They're incredibly talented at building CRPGs, but their project management has always been a mess. During Rogue Trader's development, for instance, they sacrificed story consistency for the sheer quantity of content, stretching themselves so thin that parts of the narrative lost coherency entirely. And then, right before launch, they decided to add a multiplayer mode that almost no one wanted, and even rewrote Chapter 4 from scratch at the last minute. The result? A buggy and finished release that's only now being patched into the game it should have been seen at launch. And Natalie Shestov himself has admitted as much in recent interviews, but to be fair, those of us who truly love Owlcat's game tend to forgive these things, because the positive feedback their game delivers often outweighs the pain caused by their flaws. Still, I sincerely hope that with Dark Heresy, Owlcats put their resources where they matter most, focus on what they do well, listen to their real audience, and stop wasting precious time and resources on features nobody asked for. Especially now, when they are juggling Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader DLCs, and even the expense adaptation at the same time. At the very least, let's hope the final release is stable and reasonable bug-free this time. In the next video, we'll take a closer look at the companion designs and some of my personal concerns about where the game might be headed. I'm Intended Rekison, thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.